Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm Justin Collier. Today on the show, we have a very interesting guest, Karen Pelot of Perspectives LLC. Karen specializes in conflict resolution within organizations, and today we talk a little bit about the different mindsets you can enter into to reinforce more collaboration, more cooperation with your peers, or with leadership within a corporation. I think it was a very, very informative show today, and I really hope you enjoy it. So Karen, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I really appreciate having you here. Let's first maybe start by introducing who Karen Pelot is to the audience who's listening.
Okay.
So you're the founder of Perspectives?
I am.
Perspectives LLC? How do you go?
Perspectives. I mean, legally the LLC has to be there on written documentation,
Totally
but
understand.
Perspectives.
Awesome. Website URL, perspectivesllc.com.
There you go.
Awesome. So you are a mediator, a facilitator, a coach, a trainer. You're also a public speaker as well, too. You do a lot of things. It probably makes it really hard to give a really good elevator pitch. Have you thought about your elevator pitch before? Like, how do you explain what you do to somebody when you only have a few minutes to really explain it?
I try not to really explain it.
Oh.
I try to sort of give a hook, right? So the end result of what I do is help clients, professional organizations, promote engagement, reduce and resolve conflict, and instill accountability for behaviors and results in the workplace.
Okay.
That's what I do.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I don't really necessarily tell how I do it.
No, totally understand.
Yeah.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, you don't want to give away your secret sauce. You just want to tell them.
Or even start explaining, well, I do coaching and I do that, because then people are like, gone.
Do you have a certain one of these you lead with? As far as my main specialty is public speaking. My main specialty is mediation. No, not really. Okay.
No, not really. When I'm talking, I usually lead with the conflict aspect though.
You totally lead with the conflict aspect.
So
you would tell someone when there is conflict within some organization, someone brings me in, and then even if you don't tell them in the elevator pitch exactly how you go about doing that.
Yes.
How do you go about doing that?
Well, it depends on what the issue is, right?
It
totally depends on what the issue is. So, depends on what the client's need is. Tuesday I spoke. I gave a presentation on mindset awareness and understanding benefits and detriments of which kind of mindset you're in. I got invited to do that because Perspectives had given a workshop for one of the executives that was going to be there, and so I got recommended to come. So it was all human resource executives, right? So that was just a download of information. Mixed bag of people, they all signed up to come. It wasn't tackling any particular issue for anyone. It was just helping raise general awareness. Maybe they can take something back to their lives. So there's that. But then the other side of what I do is more specific to your need. Right? So if a business leader calls me and says, we're having high turnover, people aren't getting along, I've got this one leader that's just abrasive, whatever it is, can you help? Well, intuitively, of course I can help, right? It's what I do. It's absolutely what I do. But I have to dive deeper into what's really going on and what's really your goal. And so once we know what the goal is, the remedy might be a mediation between this person who's abrasive and the person that they're particularly offending to help them develop some new behaviors. It might be coaching for that individual. If there's a whole team dynamic involved where it's kind of a hostile is a big word, but if it's kind of a negative environment, a negative vibe that's detrimental to productivity within a whole work group, then it might be working one-on-one with the leadership, but then also giving training to the whole group to kind of give everyone a shared learning experience and bring everybody along at the same time. So it really is, it depends on what the need is.
Totally. So it's really not like a one size fits all.
It is not.
When you come in, so if part of what the services you offer are diagnosing what the actual issue is, is this as simple as you coming in and interviewing everybody and you feel it intuitively, or do you have some sort of system about diagnosing what the problem is, the same way a doctor would?
Yeah, there's a bit of a system. I sort of have a format of questions that if I'm interviewing a group of people, say there's a team of 12.
Okay.
And they're trying to figure out where things are going sideways. They've had 2 different leaders, same problems, same group, right? So I'll come in and interview people one-on-one.
Okay.
And I'll ask everyone the same question.
What sort of questions would you ask? Give me a flavor. Oh, you can't even give me one.
No, yeah, I can. You know what? The question that will have somebody talk for an hour, tell me what's going on.
Fair enough, yeah.
Tell me, that's how I open it up. So you know me, I'm the confidential neutral. I'm not going to tell anyone what you tell me.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is pull themes out of what everyone tells me so that I can figure out what's the commonality in where things are going sideways.
It's almost like when you say something like, hey, what's going on? You're eliciting a story out of the other person.
Their story.
It's sufficiently vague enough that they know what you're getting at, but they just say, hey, you know what? I'm here. I'm just trying to do my job. I feel like I'm doing everything right, but there's this force coming in, whether it's leadership or whether it's this other employee that is antagonistic to me in some way that's preventing us from collaborating.
Exactly.
I really do like that question. That really does.
It's a great
simple
question.
Enough, yeah.
And so once you preface that conversation with, this is confidential.
Yeah.
I've been paid to hear your story, so give me your story. I'm going to be much more effective for your group if I understand your story.
Yeah.
It is amazing how quickly people will just open up and lay it on the table. And then when they do, it very quickly, after like the 3rd person that I interview, the commonalities have started rising up. And then the next 6 or 7 people validate if these are actually the core.
Yeah, the next question is really, you must be hearing these stories, and they say there's 2 sides to every story. How do these stories come off especially biased to you, or do they come off as largely genuine, but there's just some sort of miscommunication, or is it some blend of both? Like how do they feel when you're listening? Are you like no, you're hiding things, you're not telling the whole thing? How does it feel when it comes off most of the time?
Yeah.
Like how transparent do you actually feel like these people are being at first?
Most people are quite transparent.
Really?
They are, most people. But if there's an organization of 15 people, there'll be 1 or 2 that their trust is so broken that they can't trust my confidentiality either. And it's obvious that they're being guarded in the wording that they're using and how they're doing it. Yeah.
Is that lack of trust coming from something endogenous to them, maybe either from the personal life, or are they just maybe being beaten down in the corporate workplace that they can't trust you because you're still kind of part of the system that's not working? Or is that even hard to tell? In
that initial conversation, my assumption is it's related to work generally, because they know we're in work mode. I'm here about your work. We all know there's problems. Yeah. So tell me what's going on at work. Yeah. Because I don't want to know what's going on in their personal life, quite frankly. Yeah. So.
Awesome. I really want to, because you do cover so much and you've got a wide range of talents, I want to just, as much as we can, just pick up a few flavors here and there. Okay. So you mentioned something already. You mentioned speaking on mindset awareness. Could you give me a little flavor of what that means, and what would you speak about?
Yeah, sure. So Tuesday, I gave a talk on what's on your mind, and it's called, little plug, is it propelling you or derailing you? Right?
Propelling you or derailing you?
Or derailing you, because it is. And so the first part of that, we walked through the science of kind of how our minds process information. And of all the bazillion data points that we could focus on, our mind selects for us what to focus on all the time, day in and day out. Once it selects that, it organizes it. It puts it in some kind of sequential order for us. It's why there are 2 sides to every story. It's not because one person is being dishonest. It's because we really remember it differently, depending on our map of the world.
Like choosing what to focus on, or?
And so our minds automatically select, organize, and then interpret.
Select, organize, and then interpret.
And then interpret. Automatically, all the time, 24/7, without us asking us to do it. Okay. Right? We can prime ourselves for what we're going to focus on. Like, I'm focusing on you right now instead of the pattern on the wall over there, right? Of the wine bottle corks. Yeah, okay. So, but I mean, if you think about ADD on the biggest steroids you can imagine, if our mind didn't do this for us all the time, it would be chaos all the time in our heads, in our lives, in our worlds, right? So we automatically select something that will have our attention, that we'll become aware of, and then we organize it. When we organize it, we put some structure to it. We put it in some kind of sequential order almost, which is not adequate language to describe it. But like, for example, have you ever been in an argument?
I've been in an argument or two.
You have?
If I think back really
so
hard,
if you think back, good, because that makes you really normal. So if, not that you're not like extraordinary in other ways, but it makes you normal that you've been in an argument. So the last argument you were in, who started it?
I'm sure I want to believe that they started it in some way, but that's...
Right, don't rationalize, just what's your go-to, who started it?
Oh, God, I can't actually think of an actual argument.
You already said it, they did.
Yeah, the answer is they did. Yeah.
Yeah, over and over. The answer is they did.
It's always they did. Exactly.
It is always they did. And it's not that that's not true. It's not that you're lying or trying to be deceitful in how you recall the sequence of events or how it happened. Yeah. That's how your mind structures it for you, right?
Certainly.
So two things can equally be true.
Mm-hmm. It's certainly. Right? Well, I imagine, like most arguments, they escalate, and there's chaos emerges out of an argument, and everything would have maintained order if the other person hadn't said that one thing that triggered the argument.
You.
Exactly.
Yes, that triggered you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how did you just describe that? Chaos.
Order and chaos. Oh, chaos comes out of it.
Chaos comes out of it. Do you know why that happens?
No, tell me why.
Because when your emotions are heightened, negative emotions, and your amygdala is tripped, it makes really smart people stupid. It literally disconnects your brain and your rational ability and your logical reasoning ability from like your heart. Yeah. You're in this erratic path right now, and it literally makes you stupid. So when you think back to that argument and you relive it later, do you do better with your side of the argument when you think about it later?
When I think about most arguments later, doing better is a weird way to put it. I like to think that I'm able to see there's...
Are you more effective in how this
I'm certainly able to be more empathetic with the person I was arguing with and see their side.
What about when you literally think about, she said this and I said that, and she said this and I said that. When you relive it, do you do it a little differently? Do you say it a little differently? When you're in the shower and this argument comes up and you're kind of reliving it, it's probably not a transcript of what happened in the moment.
I see what you're saying now. What you're saying is you're almost in many ways misremembering in ways that are self-serving or favoring.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's not what you're saying.
I'm giving you a demonstration of how the chaos that comes with heightened negative emotions disconnect your your normal rational brilliance and cognitive ability when you're in the heat of any heightened negative emotions. You just can't think as clearly as you would. And that's where that chaotic, that's where we say things that if we had a do-over, we might do it differently.
For sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is all part of the mindset stuff. So we talked about the science, about selecting, organizing, and then interpreting. And that's where we give meaning to whatever it is we've become aware of. We put in adjectives and we define it. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it right? Is it wrong? Yeah. You know, whatever it is. So in that third phase. And that happens like this, like faster than this, all day long with everything we do. Or we can deliberately choose to be focusing on something, right? And really being more self-aware about how we're looking at and how we're thinking about it. But the rest of the time, it's just automatic. It's what our brain does for us. Yeah. When it gets through those three phases, it drops whatever it is into one of two mindsets. And I like to simplify it by calling those two mindsets judger head or learner head.
Judger head. I like that. I'm going to write these down as judger head and learner head.
Yes.
You're not giving away all your secrets, are you?
I'm not.
Okay.
So, because I'm not explaining it all. So, if it drops you into judger head, that's where you start to feel physiologically. That's when your amygdala gets tripped. That's when negative things start coming up. Judger head is easily recognizable because it doesn't feel good.
Okay. Right? Is this like some hormone response, some cortisol or something?
It's all of the above. So when your amygdala is tripped, your heart rate becomes erratic. Okay. Right? And whatever it is for you, for me, my chest feels tighter. For most of us, our breathing starts getting more shallow. Our heart rate is more erratic. We call that like the pulse speeds up or whatever. And then some people feel like a complete tightening in their body. They might clench their jaws. Some people shrink. They try to get away from it. So physically,
is this equivalent to the flight or fight response? Okay, got it.
Exactly what it is. So whatever that is for you, that happens instantaneously. And most of the time, we are not cognizant that is what has just happened. We're just going with it because that's what the amygdala does for us. If there's really a bear, then we need to run, right? So it's important. So judge your head is valid. It's important. We need to keep it. We just need to be aware of it because in the workplace, we don't have too many bears to be running away from, right? Really, right? Feels like it, but we don't really have too many bears. So becoming aware of what it feels like to you because it's uncomfortable gives you enough space to slow that erratic heart rate down and have it be more smooth. And that's where you're calm. That's where you've got your cognitive ability back. And you're much less likely to say things that when you redo it, you'll be like, I should have said this, or I should have done that, or why did I do that? That's a judge your head thing. So that's the kind of stuff we talked about. That's mindset awareness. Becoming aware. If you're in learner head, you're in the flow. I would submit that you're in learner head right now. Because
I don't know, my heart's racing a little bit.
Your heart's racing a little bit.
I feel a little recoil. I don't know.
You feel like running. Right you're like,
You're reminding me of a bear right now.
Give me a run. Yeah, okay. So, no, if you're in learner head, then it's like this. Your heart rhythm is like this. And your mind and your heart are connected at that point.
This feels a lot like, learner head feels a lot like stoicism to a degree.
I don't know.
A lot of times, sometimes I use the term self-conscious versus, say, others conscious. When I think of the term self-conscious, most people think of being in front of a group of people. Okay. I was thinking like being self-conscious as far as performing goes. Okay. When I'm thinking of being self-conscious, what I'm really thinking of is someone thinking about how things affect them and their needs. Other conscious could be thought of as thinking about how things affect someone else and their needs. So typically...
Also known as empathy.
Also known as empathy, yes. I'm trying to give it a fancy, different name that is like the other side of self-conscious. A lot of times we can't be stoic in the moment. We let our emotions, I feel like, bubble up and go into judge our head. When we're thinking about how the things the other person are saying is going to affect us, rather than thinking why are they saying what they're saying in the first place. What is the root cause of their pain? Because their pain is as legitimate as your pain is, and most people seem to forget that. Everyone wants to have this argument like, no, my pain is more legitimate. Right. You should accommodate me in ways that I shouldn't have to accommodate you. And a lot more could be resolved if we were empathetic or other conscious. And just in my own mind, this is, again, I'm just speaking from my own experience. When I find that when I frame a conversation from being self-conscious to other conscious, I immediately find my physiological body.
That's exactly what we're talking about. Shifting from when you're in judge your head, it's when you start feeling that uncomfortable. And it's when things can get chaotic and escalate, like you said. But when you become aware of it, you say conscious, I use that self-awareness thing. So self-conscious might be, some people hear that and think like intimidated, or I'm feeling self-conscious right now, right? But self-awareness, for me, self-awareness is more being aware of what am I actually doing right now and how am I impacting you right now? How am I impacting you? How is my behavior impacting you? And so what you're talking about in that moment, to switch your thought process to focus on the other person and get curious about what's going on with them. What is their intention right now? Why do they feel the way they do? Obviously, it's very different from me. Why? What's the difference here? You have given yourself that space you need to move out of judge your head into learner head, but it gives you that space between stimulus and reaction. Because as humans, we tend to go stimulus, reactions. But what you do in that moment, you literally describe that you do, is put some space in there And it doesn't take long. You've probably experienced.
Absolutely.
It can be very quick. And now you put a bubble in there where you can regain your connection between your heart and your mind.
Yeah.
And you can now be rational and logical and clear.
And clear,
yeah.
In some ways, this idea of Stoicism seems to look at something objectively, but I found that, and I really want to recommend this to people, when you are able to take a step back and look at something objectively, you actually can be more empathetic. If you're speaking on mindset awareness is where you are, and you're probably talking to a group. You're talking about judge your head. You're talking about learn your head. I'm sure some people are sitting there thinking, "Oh yeah, sure. I'm sure you're right, but in the moment, how could I possibly remember or find a way to get out of that cortisol-induced flight or fight response?" Exactly. What is there something you can tell them? Like, is it just knowing about it helping them, or is there a trick? Is there a trick? Yeah, we all want to know.
Yeah. So that awareness is 100% the first step. Just that now you have this awareness that I could be in a mindset that might be not my best, you know, or maybe even detrimental to this situation. Just having that awareness and having it become present in your mind is often enough to give you the space.
Yeah, just because it might bubble up.
However, my master secret is, number one, be aware of what it feels like.
Guys, keep this to yourself. Right?
Yeah.
Just don't tell anybody.
This is just for us. Keep it to yourself. No. This is I'll tell this freely to the world.
All right, master secret.
So, master secret is know what it feels like for you when you have been triggered. Feels like, not even the thoughts you're having, but what is it physically, what happens for you? Where do you feel it first? Because you actually, when you become aware of it, you feel it before anything ever comes out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Once you become acutely aware of that. So practice noticing that feeling and connecting it to judge your head.
Yeah.
That's your first alert. As soon as you feel that feeling, the more aware of it you are, that's your opportunity to go, something warrants investigation. Something warrants my attention here. And it might be run like hell because there's a there's a bear, there's a spaceship, whatever it is, sorry. Yeah. Or it might be, wow, they're not really trying to attack me here. They're just feeling as passionately about this subject as I do. So how about I try to understand their point of view,
yes,
you know? And that's a lot of words. We're not going to go through all that in our head. But the more aware we are, the more able you are to recognize the sensations that you have in your body when you're triggered, the more readily you can start to have the space. So then the next thing you do is get curious.
Get curious.
Get curious.
Get curious.
If you get curious, you will automatically create some more space so that you can be your brilliant, wise self instead of, a chaotic mess in the moment.
Instead of some reptilian brain.
That's right.
Perfect.
Get curious.
Get curious. It sounds like get curious in any other person.
Even of yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, what's going on with me? My chest is tightening up. Why am I having such a strong reaction?
Yeah.
All in here. Just get curious.
Yeah.
Get curious. How about that? Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah.
No, I'm not letting you off that easy.
Oh, okay.
No, let's. I really do want to know, how does someone like you find out that you're good at this? Were you doing this for another company and they just pulled you aside and said, "Man, we just really need your help mitigating some conflict over here"? Did you just quit some other job you're doing and say, "This is what I'm going to do"? How did you fall into it?
Yeah. So in my prior life.
And how long have you been doing it? I'm sorry.
10 years.
Okay.
So mediation started just as a mediator 10 years ago. Okay. And then it evolved into these other pieces of the company. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
10 years. You've probably seen, one thing about your work that I really like is not just the idea of working with peers who are not collaborating, but the idea of leaders and subordinates, because there's a power dynamic I think changes things a little bit. It's a little bit different than even a couple being in an argument.
Yep. Sort of. They're power dynamics
sort of,
there too.
fair.
Yeah.
What I really want to know actually is I really want to know about the really hard cases with leaders, the ones that are just stubborn Why are they stubborn? I think we talked about this before. Some of the leaders that you work with hire you because their leaders or their bosses force them.
Or their leader or their boss hires me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have any good examples of one particular maybe leader that was stubborn in ways that were hard to solve or maybe even impossible to solve? Like what sort of things are out there that we need to be aware of?
That is way too big of a question, but let me try to address it anyway. So this is what usually happens. If it's a team dynamic that's going sideways and people aren't getting along, the leader says, can you fix them? Can you fix them? Right? If it's a leader that has issues that have become apparent to their hierarchy, higher up, that hierarchy says, can you fix him?
Yeah.
But here's the truth. It flows downhill. We model the behaviors. Naturally, it's human nature. The dynamics that come from the top down, we tend to model. So if this is broken down here, it's broken above it as well, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
Even though this leader may have some fundamental issues that I can help them become more aware of and experiment with different behaviors that will be more successful for him, if the one up here isn't in the boat and modeling those behaviors too, this one's not going to adapt to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Is there anything that someone on, I don't want to say lower ring, but someone who has a leader and maybe recognizing some problems? Actually, let me frame this a little bit differently. Let's say someone recognizes that there are problems, but doesn't necessarily know why. What are some red flags that they might look for to know that they could use
for
something
themselves
like
or for someone else?
I was gonna say, how would someone who's not a leader recognize that they could use someone like your help? Are there any specific red flags?
If they're not getting the results that they want.
Just not getting results. Well, that could be for a number of reasons, though. You could have a business that has just a lousy product, maybe, or I guess at the end of the day, it all kind of just flows back to collaboration. It's one of those filters, right? That's fantastic.
Yeah. So if I'm personally not, if I keep seeing people get promoted around me, and I think I deserve it, but I'm not the one being selected, that might be a reason to come talk to me to try to help you uncover what's going right with them that's not working right with you. Is there something that could be different? So as a staff person, maybe that wants to climb the ladder or get better results, that would be something. The bottom line is something's not working for you. Yeah. Something is not working for you in the workplace. And if you're not sure what it is, I can help you pinpoint it.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I like that. I know you read. We talked a little bit about some of the books you do read. Are there certain books that you find yourself recommending more than others?
Yeah, there are a few. There's one that I've been recommending for probably 4 or 5 years now. And it's by Marilee Adams, and it's called...
I'll put a link in the description, by the way.
Yes, it's called Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. And it is all about learn your head, judge your head, and the assumptions we make about other people that become our truth about them that could be way off base.
Okay.
That's one.
That's one?
Here's another one I just read that I know we talked about. I just read back during the holidays, The Speed of Trust.
I think you and I talked a little bit about that. Yeah, give me some context for that.
Yeah, Stephen R. Covey, The Speed of Trust, where he explains that to be trustworthy is not synonymous with being honest. Being honest is certainly a component of being trustworthy, but if we look at it in the context of the workplace or anywhere else, but we'll talk about the workplace, is if you are trustworthy for me, that means I can count on a congruency between what you say and what you do, that those things are congruent. So if you espouse the values of the company, but then you behave in a very different way, that is incongruent. You are not going to be trustworthy. right?
Yeah, certainly.
If you espouse, I can do that. Yeah, we'll get it done, boss. Got it. We'll get it done. And then you continually miss deadlines. You are not trustworthy to me, because you're going to say you're going to do it, but I cannot trust that it will actually get done and get done on time.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Makes perfect
so
sense.
There's like different pillars of trust that make up the whole trustworthiness of the person. And so the book does a great job of explaining how to kind of fulfill each pillar of being trustworthy. And it actually has a couple of quizzes in it too to help you self-assess where you might be having some shortfalls.
Fair enough.
So it's a great book though.
Fair enough. I like that. Okay, so we have change your questions, change your life, and speed of trust.
Speed of trust. Those are two right now that I love.
Perfect.
Emotional intelligence.
Oh, keep coming in.
Yeah, 2.0. I love Daniel Goleman, the father of emotional intelligence. His book is fabulous. If you're not into kind of the academics of it, then you'll want to read 2.0, because 2.0 is written by Travis Bradberry, and it's very conversational.
Just to be clear, is there emotional intelligence and emotional intelligence 2.0? Are these two different books? Okay, got it.
Emotional intelligence, there's a few emotional intelligence books written by Daniel Goleman, who's really considered kind of the father of emotional intelligence. Massive research, hundreds of different companies. His research has been replicated. It comes back with the same response for every type of job, every demographic, government, nonprofit, tech, whatever it is, that it is your level of emotional intelligence that determines how successful you will actually be. Much more so than your IQ.
Yeah. And I think most of us have heard that, whether this is true or not, and maybe you could give me more insight on this. There seems to be this, to have more one is to have less of the other. You know, we kind of see this thing where if you have a lot of, there's this belief that if you have a really high IQ, maybe you're a little more socially inept. Do you subscribe to that maxim, or do you believe that anybody can learn this emotional intelligence regardless of?
I believe that I believe, and research supports that there's a concept which I think may be beginning to be overturned a little bit, that your IQ, like, it is what it is, and that is your ability to learn, right? Okay. Your ability to learn is your IQ, right? Emotional intelligence can be developed. Okay. If the person has zero emotional intelligence today, but has a desire to grow their capacity in self-awareness, other awareness, self-management, social management, if they have the desire, they can grow it. Yeah. Okay. With awareness and practice.
Love that. I really like this next topic, and I think you're pretty excited about this one too. So,
I don't know what it is.
I'm going to build the suspense for a second. So I understand you are working with the escape room company. Oh. And so, is this something we can talk about? Is this fair game?
It's not ready for public consumption, but we can talk theoretically about it.
We can talk theoretically,
yes.
or we can also even talk about it and then withhold the actual information until it's okay to go public.
Okay, we're very close. Yes.
We're very close.
Very close. Yes.
So let's a couple questions together. Just generally, how did it come about, and what way are you involved? And what I'm very curious about is how are these new escape rooms that you're having your hands in developing? How are they different than the normal escape rooms? I've done only one before, so I have just the smallest amount of context. So we can let's be as general as possible. But so how did it come about? Like, how did this?
Well, it came about because one of the leaders for the Great Escape Room saw me speak. Okay. And at the end came up and said, "Can we go to lunch soon? I'd like to buy you lunch. I think we might have some," which of course I figured they have a problem at work that they want me to.
That's usually what lunch indicates, yeah.
That is, yeah. They want to talk to me. They want some free advice on how to fix their problem, right? So I was intrigued. What does the Great Escape Room want from me? So we had lunch, and actually what they had was a desire to develop a program that would set them apart from the other escape type rooms. Okay, so the Great Escape Room is here downtown. There's also an escape room that's called something a little different but close to it down on I Drive.
Okay.
Is that the one you did? Which one did you do?
I actually did one in Tampa.
You did? Oh, well, that might have been the Great Escape Room.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because they're in Tampa.
I didn't realize there was a number of competitors.
There are a few competitors around the country. This one has 14 locations right now. So they have a desire to add more value to what they give to their customer and really get into the corporate world. Already, small teams will come do the experience because it's fun. It's a team building experience. Bring your team. They want to combine a learning component with it. Yeah. Right? So that's where I came in. Yeah. So they want me, perspectives, me, the proverbial me, to provide content and training to corporate entities that come in. And then they do the Great Escape Room experience and have a chance to really apply everything that we just talked about, because you did it. It's a little stressful, right? You get locked in, you're against the clock. You have to figure out these clues. You have to work together to try to get out. It's a perfect laboratory for what we just learned in, a 2-hour training program before. Yeah.
I can really imagine the ways in which the people I did the escape room with when I did it could have benefited from some more collaboration.
Right? So it is the greatest laboratory. So the training program that I'll be providing it's called the Truth About Conflict program. Okay. And so they're going to learn about their conflict style, other conflict styles, where each might be most applicable or more effective. And they're going to learn a little bit more about why we experience conflict, like where it comes from, how we experience it. And then they get to go get locked in a room and have to work as a team and figure out against a clock how to get out. Yeah. So, boom, what a perfect laboratory, right?
I really do like that. I
really like perfect. That. And then we'll come out and have a debrief, download discussion about what did you notice, what did we experience while we were in there? How does that relate back to what we talked about in here?
Everything is learned in the debrief. I probably found out too. Is there again, I've only done one, so I don't have tons of context. Yes. What might be again, this is just for a flavor, what might be like one difference within the escape room that you wouldn't see in some other escape room?
I don't know.
Don't know. Okay.
The difference is the learning experience. So that's the difference. They're not necessarily changing. I think they're always evolving their escape rooms, and they have multiple ones, but it's just the activity itself. So I'm not involved in them changing anything with regard to what they do. We're just blending. Okay. So we're turning a 1-hour fun time for a corporate group into a half-day learning team building experience where they were actually come back to work and still be talking about it. Instead of, oh, that was fun. When are we going to do a fun excursion again? They'll have new language, they'll have new shared learning experience, and they will have applied it in the escape room. Yeah, so it's more of an event, a shared learning experience.
I see that more now. That's very cool. It's very cool. One thing you brought up in describing the escape rooms that I think we've also covered a little bit, but I would still love some more context, is this idea of, I think you said conflict style?
Conflict style.
And some of these are mapped to animals, almost like spirit animals. Can you give me a couple of those as examples, just some flavors? Obviously, what we see in nature, we see in ourselves as well too. And I'd love to hear a couple of examples of our conflict styles.
Sure. So, if you come to my conflict workshop, you will learn what your go-to and your secondary conflict styles are. And so, your go-to conflict style comes out when your amygdala has been tripped, right? And you're on autopilot and you're in reaction mode, times of high stress, high conflict, your go-to style is coming out. It's happening, it's coming out. Yeah. So one would be a shark. What would you think a shark would be?
Oh, a shark, sharks are usually very smooth and non-aggressive, but then obviously they're probably going to be the one that's the most aggressive when they're actually attacking. They're
Don't overthink
dangerous.
This.
Okay.
When you think of a shark, if there is a shark in the water while you're swimming, what is your thought?
I'm terrified. They're obviously the ones doing the most damage, most destruction. It kind of feels like
I gotta get away.
Gotta get away. Yeah.
Yeah. So a shark is a more aggressive.
Not a lot of reasoning with a shark.
Yes.
I feel like.
Right. It's like food. Whatever it is, whatever their driver is, right?
Okay.
So for a human, for this analogous approach, right? For the conflict style of the shark. The shark is the more aggressive. It is the Hollywood version of a shark, right? It's Jaws. Dun, 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 dun. I'm coming after you, right?
Okay.
So in real life, attorneys are often sharks. Judges are often sharks. So a shark, for example, will make a very quick judgment, right?
Okay.
Judge a situation very quickly.
Interesting. Okay.
And not waver from it. And argue it till the cows come home until they win, right? A shark is not backing down. I'm going to win. There is a win and there is a lose when you're up against a shark.
Okay, got it.
Right?
Got it.
So then another one is a turtle. What would you think a turtle would be like?
Well, they're slower to react. Is it
way,
like slower to judge, maybe?
And what do they do? What do they do when they feel threatened?
Oh, I see. They recoil. They recoil into the defenses. So maybe they're not attacking. They're taking the onslaught of attacks, but
where they completely retreat.
Yeah.
Right? So earlier when I was talking about physical sensations, I said some people actually try to get smaller. Like there's an exercise in my workshop where we test it. People close their eyes and I can pick out oftentimes the sharks and the turtles. The others are harder to discern just in a moment like that. But a turtle, you will see them actually like...
I see, yeah.
Try to get away. Try to retreat. So if a turtle gets an ugly email, an accusatory, threatening email, they might not even respond to it. Right?
Yeah.
If a turtle walks into a break room and there's some kind of thing going on that they may know about, they will turn around and leave versus give their input into what's happening. Yeah. If a turtle is at a meeting table and passions are high, a discussion is high, they may have the most brilliant input to give, but you'll probably never hear it.
That really is a shame. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So those are two extremes.
Yeah. Those are I can see how those are extremes on this very, I think, obvious dimension. Give me just one more so I have a third perspective.
Some context.
Yeah.
Okay. So one more would be the owl.
Ooh, okay.
So cartoon-like. What do you think of when you think of an owl?
Kind of wise, reserved. Yeah. Doesn't say too much, but says like
observant.
Sees everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Giving you a clue here. Yeah, very observant. Very interested in why you feel the way you do, right? So mediators, for example.
Is it very learner-head?
It's very learner-head.
Okay.
An owl tends to very much stay in learner-head because they're genuinely interested in, obviously you feel completely different than I do about this. I want to know why. Yeah. I genuinely want to know why, right? Yeah. So they make very good mediators because they can hear the two sides of the story and be genuinely curious about, that is 180 degrees from what I just heard in the other room. Yeah. Help me understand why. And then vice versa and all that. And then bridge the gap between the two, right? Yeah. So that's what an owl does. An owl will recognize the turtle at the table and will quiet the shark down and ask the turtle, what do you think about this? I feel like we need to know what you feel about this, you know? So that's what the owl will do. So the owl is great to have around when you have time, because it's the most time-consuming conflict resolution piece of it all. Yeah. If it's something that needs to be done quickly, we got to make a decision and go, you want your shark. Because they're going to make a decision and we're going to go. Yeah, you know? And ultimately it's
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I think for the third example, I really did provide a layer of context I kind of wanted. So
okay, good.
That's good. So Karen.
Yes, Justin.
Let's say somebody wants to reach out to you, wants to contact you.
Yes.
How would you recommend they go about doing that?
They can email me at Karen@perspectivesllc.com. There is an S on the end of perspectives.
Okay, perfect.
Everybody gets that right. It's plural.
Perfect.
Perspectivesllc.com. They can call me, 407-926-2451.
All of your contact information in the show notes. I will put maybe your social media as well too.
Sure.
Any links to information on the escape room, depending on the time that this comes out.
Okay.
And besides that, Karen, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I had a great conversation. I learned a lot. And you do such interesting things and you help people in such interesting ways. So thank you for what you do, and thanks for coming.
Thank you. Very fun. Thank you, Justin.
All right, guys, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any feedback at all, please feel encouraged to leave it down in the comment sections below. I do read it, and I do want to know the ways in which we can improve the show for you. If you liked it and you know somebody else who would find value in watching the show, please do share it with them. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, support us in any way you feel. Otherwise, we'll see you next episode. Thanks for watching.